Thank you very much. All right, sound. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that video. That's my life story. It's 4 minutes long. I tell this story all the time. I live next door to my dad. My dad's 88 years old, and he comes over and he watches that tape like it's live. You know, I said, "Dad, let it go. It's over." You know, I brought him to see the movie Miracle. I don't know how many people have seen it. Well, if you haven't seen it, buy a copy because we get a percentage of the sales. No, I'm kidding. Disney got everything. But I brought my dad to the movie, and I'm sitting next to him, and I'm watching him, and he's jumping up, and he's jumping down, and he's covering his eyes, and he's clapping, and he's looking at me, and I looked at him, and I said, "Dad, relax, we win." You know? I said, later on, you're going to really enjoy this movie. But anyway, first of all, I wanted to thank John for those nice remarks. I think I'm going to get a new agent. John's going to be the guy. But, you know, it's great to be here, be associated with the Wrestling Association as well as obviously USA Hockey. You know, I wasn't sure really what I was going to kind of talk about, but as John started to talk about our athletes that are here, the women that are here with their goals and dreams of being at the Olympic Games in Vancouver, the wrestling program and the goals and dreams of our wrestlers to represent their country in the Olympic Games, I just kind of thought I would talk about our team and the journey that these athletes go through. People see the end result. You will see the Olympic Games in Vancouver, and you'll see the end result of what happened. You'll see the Summer Games, and you'll see the end results of what happened. And people in this room, I know a lot of people weren't born when I played, saw the end result based on a movie. What enables the end result to happen? And I got to tell you the truth, probably everybody in this room saw the end result. What enabled it to happen? What enabled this hockey team to come together and accomplish something that nobody in the world, and when I'm telling you nobody in the world, trust me, nobody in the world thought we could win a medal, let alone a gold medal. So I thought what I could do is kind of bring you back to the start and how our journey started at the beginning. See, in 1980, prior to 1980, the United States and the Olympic Games would sometimes take these college players and you'd practice together for a month or 2 months or a week or 2 weeks, and you'd go to compete. And you're competing against countries that train 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, and in the Soviets' case, some of these guys played together 16 years. So you're at a disadvantage right away because you don't have a lot of time to practice. The second disadvantage of the Olympic Games are played on a bigger sheet of ice. It's a little wider and it's longer. And it's very hard for the North American teams to adapt to the big sheet where the Europeans grow up playing on it. So you're already at a disadvantage as well. And obviously prior to 1980, there were no rinks in the United States that were Olympic-sized rinks. So again, the Europeans had an advantage. Well, Herb Brooks, who put together, coach our team, said we're going to do things a little differently. First thing we're going to do is we're going to train for 6 months. And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Europe, and we're going to practice on the European and the big ice. And the third thing we're going to do is we're going to change the way we play. We're going to learn the European style of hockey, which is more of a skating, puck control type of a game. People said to Herb Brooks, you can't teach these players in 6 months what the Europeans have been doing for years. Herb said, I can and we will. Well, what they did was then they had tryouts all around the country. Thousands of people got invited to try out for the 80 Olympic team. Eventually, 68 players were invited, and we went to Colorado Springs, and we competed against each other over 2 weeks. In the movie Miracle, the team was picked in 1 day. Trust me, it was 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks, we competed against each other, and Herb eventually evaluated the players and selected 26 of us. 6 players were going to get cut. Only 20 could go to Lake Placid. But I remember when the team was picked, Herb stood in front of us, and he said, gentlemen, I'll be your coach, but I won't be your friend. And I'm thinking, this is going to be a long season. But the second thing he said to me is something that stayed with me to this day. He said, if you don't want to be here, then leave, because there are thousands of people who would like to be in your shoes. And from day one, we understood the privilege and the honor of being selected to be one of 26. Never knowing who was going to get cut, what's going to happen down the road, just to be a part of it was a great opportunity for us. So our team is selected, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to Europe and train. And we go over to Europe. We've got a schedule of games to play, but we're not going to play any of the A teams. Soviets aren't going to bother with us. Neither is Finland or Sweden. We're going to play some of the B teams, some of the lower teams. So we go to Holland, and we play over there. And we go to Norway, and we play the Norwegian national team, which is, although in our pool in the Olympic Games, a country we should beat. Well, we go over and we play Norway, and if you watch the movie Miracle, the game ended in a 4-4 tie. Herb wasn't very happy with the way we played and skated us for a little while after the game. We actually skated, we figured, anywhere from an hour and a half to an hour and 15 minutes. of these drills called Herbies. We've named them after our coach because we love the drill so much. And you skaters that are out there, a Herbie is when you start at the board, you go to the blue line, you go back to where you started. Then you go to the red line, back to where you started. Then you go to the far blue line, back to where you started. Then you go all the way down, touch the boards, and go back. Well, we had a 2-hour practice that morning, as we always did the day of a game. Played the game that night, and then did the Herbies. Well, we go back in the locker room after the game. We had to play Norway the next morning. And Herb said to us, "Gentlemen, if you play this way again tomorrow, you'll skate again." Well, we won 8-0 the next day. So we knew he had a smart hockey team. But the reason I tell you the story is what Herb was trying to tell us this. Values. Values are very important in life. Respect your opponents. If you don't respect the people you compete against, you will be beaten. If you don't respect yourself, if you don't respect your teammates, you will not be successful. So the skate was somewhat of a punishment the way we performed, but more of a lesson for us as a team to learn. As we move forward and we get into the Olympic Games, you better respect the people you compete against, and you better respect yourself and your teammates for the time and effort and work that you put in. So it was a great lesson for us to understand at day one. So we finish out the tour and we go back to the States, and we're based out of Minnesota, and we're playing everybody and anybody. We're playing colleges, we're playing minor league teams, and we're traveling and we're beating everybody. We think we're pretty good because, well, we're winning most of the games we're playing. Very few teams are beating us, but we're not playing any of the A teams like I told you. Soviets sent a B team over, and we kind of beat them pretty much. And we keep traveling and keep playing. Now the games are getting closer. We're only a few weeks away from the Olympic Games, and we have one last game to play. And it's in Madison Square Garden. And it's against the real Soviet team. Not the B team, not the C team, but the Soviet team who just happened to beat the NHL All-Stars by a score 6-0. And here we are playing them in Madison Square Garden, and we think we're pretty good. And we step on the ice in Madison Square Garden, sold-out building. We lose 10-3. Totally destroyed, totally embarrassed, totally humiliated. Adversity. How do you handle adversity? Not every day is a great day. Sometimes things don't go the way you want them to go. And although we thought we were a pretty good hockey team, we just got to face a reality right there. Well, when the game was over, Herb didn't say a word to us because I was waiting for him to scream and yell. He said, "Gentlemen, we'll talk tomorrow." So we go back to the hotel, pack our bags, get ready to go to the rink the next morning to go to Lake Placid to open up the Olympic Games. Not the right way you want to go to the Olympic Games, having lost 10-3. Well, I remember going to the rink, and I picked up the New York Post as an article about the game, and it talked about how the U.S. team has no chance in the Olympic Games. They're a good young team. They got some good young players, but there's no chance they can win a medal. Probably going to come in 7th place, which we're supposed to come in. And I pick up the New York Post, and I read more of the article, and there's a quote from Herb Brooks. And the quote said from Herb, "I knew our team was in trouble. When the Soviets were being introduced, my players were applauding them." And he was dead on right. For the first period, we stood around and went, "Wow, there's Karlamov, there's Yakashev, there's Tretiak, next thing you know, it's 7-1. I scored the only goal just to bring that one up. That's right, part of the story. But anyway, we go to the meeting that next day, and like I said, we're ready to get ripped by Herb. And the one great thing about Herb Brooks, he was a great motivator. He knew what to say and when to say it. He didn't talk for the sake of talking. We didn't have meetings for the sake of meetings. As he always used to say, there's a method to his madness. And we met that morning, and he said, "Gentlemen, if you ever get a chance to play the Soviets again, remember how you played in the second and third period, not the first period, where you stood around and watched." So that's what I was trying to tell you a little bit about adversity. When things aren't going well, don't dwell on the negative. Find something good, as small as it might be, and build off of that. Because if we went to that meeting that day and he flipped out and screamed and yelled, we would have probably left there very disappointed, very disgusted, and unsure of what we were going to do when the games began in a few days. Instead, we walked out of that meeting thinking, wow, we're a good hockey team. We have a chance to maybe win a medal. We have a chance to be competitive. So he turned a negative into a positive like that. So now we go to the Olympic Games, hopes and dreams, thinking we got a chance for a medal. Never thought about a gold medal. We wanted to get to the medal round. That was the goal. Get to the medal round. Get to the Final Four. You get to the Final Four, anything can happen. So we open up with Sweden, a country that's supposed to beat us. Billy Baker scores a goal with 28 seconds left. We tie Sweden 2-2. Next day, I pick up the newspaper, and there's the quotes and all the experts talking, and they say good performance by the United States, but they're still going to come in 7th place. They don't have experience, and it was a very unexperienced team. I think our average age was 21. I think the youngest Olympic team we had ever put out on the ice at that point. So we didn't have a lot of experience. I could understand that. Then they said we didn't have a lot of talent and we didn't have a lot of ability. And that's what kind of bothered me, because it reminded me of my high school football coach. I remember my junior year in high school, he told me that ability and a dime gets you a cup of coffee. And if you think about it in our lives, how many times we've been around people with great ability and great talent and great skill and don't get the job done. It's like right now, I can take you all outside and I can measure how fast you can run, I can measure how high you can jump, I can measure how much weight you can lift. But I can't measure heart, and I can't measure pride, and I can't measure commitment. And those are intangibles. Those are little things that separate good teams from great teams. Those are little things that separate good athletes from great athletes. We might not have been the best hockey team in Lake Placid, but I guarantee you we had the intangibles. We had heart, we had pride, we had commitment, we had respect. We had things that I like to call old-fashioned values, things that my dad taught me at a young age. If you believe in something and you're willing to work hard for it, you can't accomplish it. And if you understand the value of work, at some point in your life you'll be successful. And it might not be today or tomorrow or next month or next year, but I guarantee you, when you're the best at what you do, it's because of the time and effort and work that you put in. I've never met a person in my life who told me they're successful because they're lucky. People are successful because they're willing to roll their sleeves up and come to work. And for 6 months, the hockey team that I played on, every single day, we came to the rink prepared and focused to be the best. We came to the rink and pushed each other day in and day out to be successful. What you want to do in a situation when you're on a team, and I know there are a lot of teams here, is you want to surround yourself with people whose goals and objectives are the same as yours. You want to come to work every day, to practice every day, knowing that not only are you focused to be the best, but so are the people that you associate yourself with. As Herb used to call us, we were a lunch pail, hard hat group of guys who came to the rink every day, prepared and focused to be the best. And that was the mindset that we had. Despite the experts saying we were 7th place, despite the fact that we supposedly didn't have a lot of talent, and you know what, guess what? We might even surprise ourselves at times. But we still believed. We believed in ourselves and we believed in each other. And that Sweden game proved to us that we're capable of doing something special. So now the second game is against Czechoslovakia. The only team that anybody thought could beat the Soviets were the Czechs. We blow them out of the building 7-3. Next game, Norway. This is going to be easy. Beat them 8-0 last time we played them. First period ends, we're losing 1-0. Herb comes in and flips out, screaming and yelling. Who do you guys think you are? You're playing like a bunch of damn individuals. We've been a team all year. Play like a team. Somebody makes a nice play, tell them nice play. Start passing the puck. Quit carrying the puck. Play like a team. Support your teammates. Jimmy makes a good save, tell him good save. And he storms out of the room. Well, David Silk jumps up and he looks at Eric Strobel and he says, Eric, I love the way you wear your hair. And we just about lost it. Because you know what? Sometimes you got to take a deep breath. Sometimes you got to laugh. Sometimes you got to relax. Okay, this is a hockey game. You got to enjoy the opportunity that you have. Well, we went out and we scored 5 goals and we beat Norway. Next game we beat Romania. Next game we beat West Germany. Now we're in the medal round. We're not quite sure who we're going to play in the medal round, but the Soviets took care of that because they beat Japan 18-1 the night before. So now we're playing the Soviets. Okay? Team considered the best in the world, and trust me, they were pretty good. But you played a game. So we're sitting in the locker room, the biggest game of our lives at this point, and Herb walked in, and he said, gentlemen, you're born to be a player. You're meant to be here. This moment is yours. And he walked out. Well, I got to tell you the truth. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm like, born to be a player, meant to be, because Herb sometimes could go on these tangents, you know. And I didn't think about it till after the Olympic Games, because during the Olympic Games, we weren't allowed to talk to the media. We had no idea people were watching. So after the games, I would get bags of mail, autographed, people wanting pictures, people sending articles back, you know, autograph these articles. And I would read what was being written about us. And so many times it came back what he had said to us. Born to be a player, meant to be here. This moment is yours. It was the first time in my life as an athlete that I kind of thought about it. How'd I make this team? Because you just kind of played. Next thing you know, you're on an Olympic team. So I thought about born to be a player. I remember as a young kid wanting to play hockey because my friends used to play. But there wasn't enough money at home where I'd say, Dad, I'm going to play hockey. He'd say, okay, here, go buy the equipment. It didn't work that way. My parents would support you in anything and everything you wanted, but you could never quit. And they weren't going to spend their hard-earned money, and then I come home and say, you know what, I really don't like it. It's cold. I'm not having any fun. Well, I have 4 sisters and a brother, and my sister had a pair of figure skates, white figure skates that I used to fit into. And I was in the 1st grade, and they used to freeze the tennis courts where I grew up. And I come home from school, and I get my sister's white figure skates, and I would go down to the tennis courts. Well, hockey's a macho kind of game, and not only did I have white figure skates, but they had the blue pom-poms on the toes. And I would skate, and then my sister would come down, and I'd give her the skates, and I would go home. Well, in those days, some people in this room remember, you could save S&H green stamps. And I remember coming home, and my mom saved up enough stamps, and I had a pair of hide ice skates on the table one day. So I thought about that. I thought, you know what? Maybe I was born to be a player. And I think I was meant to be there because I know the time and effort and work that I put in just to make myself a better player. But I think of the coaches that I had clearly in hockey from the youth level on to my college days and then obviously in the Olympic Games, coaches who made me realize not only what it takes to compete at the next level, but succeed at the next level. I remember my football coaches, because I played football and baseball. I probably played more baseball in my life than I played hockey. But coaches that I had through Pop Warner, through high school football, my baseball coaches through high school, through the summer leagues, kind of always taught me what it takes to be successful and how hard you have to work. So when Herb was talking to us that day, I kind of thought about it again later, but I think I was born to be a player. I think I was meant to be there. And I think of the sacrifices my family made. My dad worked 3 jobs. My mother taking me to hockey practices in the morning, never knowing it was going to lead to the Olympics, but saw that I had a passion for something and they wanted to support me. Think of the sacrifices you make in order for you to achieve your goals. The athletes that are here today, the women's team, the wrestlers that are here, the young girls and boys that are here that are hockey players. Think of the sacrifices you make in order for you to play the game. Parents, what you do for your children, how you support them, the sacrifices you make. People who are successful make sacrifices. So again, when Herb was talking to us that day, he was dead on. He wasn't really just talking to me. I took it that way. But if you found or knew anything about my teammates, we all kind of came from that same background, a very working class environment of families and parents who supported their kids, who coaches who came out every day and supported them. So in many ways, Herb was dead on. We were born to be players. We were meant to be there. And as far as the moment being ours, nobody gave us a hope in hell of winning. 20 players, 2 coaches, 2 trainers thought we could win. Well, we go out and obviously play a pretty good hockey game. We beat the Soviets 4-3. Now we have to play Finland on Sunday morning. We lose to Finland, we don't win a medal maybe. We tie Finland, there's a chance we might not win a medal. This now becomes the biggest game of our life. We're losing 2-1 going into the 3rd period. 4th time in the Olympics that we were trailing with 20 minutes left to play. Again, you want to talk about character? You want to talk about a commitment? You want to talk about a group of guys when your backs are to the wall, believing in themselves, believing in each other? You think of all the 6 months of training, all the practices, everything that you had done came down to 20 minutes of hockey. Herb walked in the locker room, and he stood in the middle of the room, and he said, "Gentlemen, if you lose this game, you'll take it to your grave." He stopped, walked out of the door, stopped, pointed his finger, and he said, "Your grave." And he walked out. You think about it. All the time, all the effort, all the work, it comes down to 20 minutes of hockey. Well, that's why I think our team was so special in many ways other than their hockey skills. These are the greatest guys you would ever want to be a part of. These are the guys, when you're back to the wall, they support each other, and they work together. All the training, all the sacrifices, the 6 months of everything we had gone through had come down to this. And we go out and we play an awfully good 3rd period of hockey, and we win the whole thing. And we go back in the locker room, and it's bedlam. Everybody's in there crying, hugging. It's the most emotional place you can want to be. Security was very, very difficult and very tight. We walk into the locker room, and our parents are in the locker room. To this day, how they get in there, we have no idea. How my father got in with a 6-pack of beer, I have no idea. My dad's sitting in my locker, and he's got a beer, and he's just waving to me like it was a high school hockey game. Okay? So here we are enjoying this amazing moment, and Herb Brooks says, "Mike, I need to talk to you." So he brings me back into the shower area, and he says, "Mike, I just found out we're going to the White House tomorrow morning to meet the president. I want you to make sure that everybody's in bed early and nobody acts up tonight." And I looked at Herb, and I said, "Who's going to watch me?" I got to tell you the truth, we pretty much stayed out all night. But the reason I tell you the story is why I told you the story about Norway. Respect. He was telling us to respect our success. Don't do something to take away from your achievements. Don't do something to take away from everything you had accomplished and gone through as a hockey team. So as bizarre as Herb might have been in his ways, the guy held true to form with his values. And as I told you, values are important. Probably the most important thing we have in this room are our values. It's our work ethic, it's our commitment, it's our pride, it's our respect. It's the intangibles. And for the athletes in this room, I don't care how good a player you are, I want to know what kind of person you are. I want to see what you're like in the locker room. Are you going to be a good teammate? That's what we had. We had great teammates. We had great players who also brought that work ethic day in and day out. And it's interesting for me because, as John talked, 30 years later, they always talk about the greatest sports moments in sports, and it's great that we won, trust me. But what's more enjoyable for me is how we won, how we went about our business, how we approached every day, every practice, and what we've done even 30 years later. It's our life's over, the moment's ended, it's moved on. But I remember Sports Illustrated wrote an article about our team years ago when we had been named Sportsman of the Year, and it was entitled A Lesson and Message of What You Can Be. And it didn't talk about goals or saves or guys, did I play on this team? Jack O'Callahan played more in the movie, and John Harrington played better in the movie, okay? So when the movie came out again, whoever thought you'd be a part of a moment like that? HBO did a documentary about our team that I think is better than the movie. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it because it really tells the whole story. And I thought that was amazing. And when the HBO documentary came out, again, the first thought that came to my mind was how many millions of people will hear our story and realize what we accomplished. And then I thought back when they named it the greatest sports moment of the 20th century. All these amazing sporting events, and here we are in this black tie dinner in New York City, Madison Square Garden, and they're counting down 10, 9, 8, and then they bring us backstage and they announce ours as number 1. And we couldn't believe it. Everybody kept going, we won, we won. It was an amazing feeling. And then I thought about lighting the cauldron in Salt Lake City. I think the ultimate honor you can give an Olympic athlete, in our case an Olympic team, that they thought that highly of us, not just as athletes, but as people. And I think what we represented. And a quick side note, and I think some of the women's hockey team players will appreciate this. We don't find out we're lighting the cauldron until the night before the opening ceremonies. 1 o'clock in the morning, we find out we're going to light it, but we can't tell anybody, it's a secret. So we keep it a secret. We go to the opening ceremonies. We go backstage. Peekaboo Street and Cami Granado are coming up the stairs, and I have to go out and get the torch. And when I tell you my heart's pumping, it's pumping because I can't believe this is as proud a moment as you'll ever imagine in our own country. Basically, right after September 11th, people were just kind of looking for something again to feel good about, and it was a great opening ceremonies in Salt Lake City. And they're coming up the stairs, and I'm just to go out to get it. And Mark Johnson, who's the women's Olympic coach this year, taps me on the shoulder and says, "Remember, 4 billion people are watching." He said, "Magic says don't drop the torch." And I said, "I can do this. We can get through this." So anyway, we did that. And I thought about that moment. And then I thought back to the Olympic Games. Standing on the podium, seeing your flag risen just a little higher, hearing your anthem being played. At a similar time in our country, a very difficult time. The economy, the hostages still had not been released. People were looking, again, something to feel good about. And here we are in Lake Placid in this small little building, and everybody's singing the Star Spangled Banner. And you see your flag being risen just a little higher is an amazing feeling. Having the gold medal around your neck, knowing everything you had accomplished, everything you had trained for, everything you had worked for, everything you had dreamed about had come to fruition. We had won the ultimate prize. That was pretty amazing. Being the captain of an Olympic team of captains, greatest guys, greatest people you ever want to be associated with. I've always said from day one I was a captain amongst captains. These guys just weren't great players, they're great people. That was a thrill and an honor. Scoring the winning goal against the Soviets is kind of nice. Although if it wasn't for Mark Johnson, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you guys. But I thought that was pretty special. And our team has done and been a part of many other things. But when I really kind of thought about it, still to me goes back to marching in the opening ceremonies. Because if you never get there, none of the other things would have happened. And that's where I like to use a word like opportunity. Guess what? Each and every one of us in our lives are given an opportunity. It's what you do with that opportunity that counts. I was given an opportunity to play a game, never knowing, thinking, dreaming, believing it would get to where it got to, but it did. Tonight's dinner, what you're doing is giving athletes an opportunity. You're giving an opportunity financially, but you're also giving an opportunity by being here and supporting them, telling them that we believe in you and we believe in what your goals are. That's what makes the Olympic Games so special. Hey, I'm a Red Sox fan. I wasn't really happy when the Yankees won this year, you know. But when it's Olympic Games, it's a country and it's a nation that supports. So these young men and women who are here this evening, who have the dreams and goals that I did, have that opportunity coming for them. And by you being here tonight and showing your support for them and what their goals are and what their dreams are is what the event's about. And like I said to you earlier, I wanted to give you the story so you get an understanding of what the end result is. So when we watch our athletes compete in the Olympic Games, you get an understanding that their goals and dreams and their story is very similar to ours, where it starts at one point and eventually it ends. But what they have to do in between is a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of effort. So with that, I think, obviously, thank you for having me here this evening. Thank you all for supporting the wrestling program, obviously our Olympic hockey program, and you make a difference, and athletes understand that. Thank you.
You know, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time listening to Mike or being around him to get it, right? You get it. You get him. You get why he's special, why he was. You'll never know why someone is chosen to lead a team. Mike was chosen to lead a team for a reason. I continue, every time I'm around him, to believe he's the perfect person for all the perfect reasons. Humble, normal, regular, based, grounded, cares about his teammates, cares about the reason why we're here. You know, I have a son who plays hockey, and he left Atlanta, of all places, to go play prep school hockey up in the Boston area. And one of the first allowed hockey times up on ice there, because prep schools tend to support kids playing 3 sports and doing that kind of thing. I went up there and I was watching them. And there are some great players on the ice. Keith Yandel, who plays for the Phoenix Coyotes, was on the ice at Cushing Academy. Chris Bork, who plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins and played for the Washington Capitals organization. And then there was this kid who was flying around the ice with this really cool blonde mullet. Fast as all get out, kind of short, kind of small. I didn't know if the kid would make the varsity, but none of these great players like Boomer Ewing or Keith Yandel or Chris Bork were out skating this kid. And I said, wow, this kid could fly. I don't know if he's physical enough, but the mullet is really cool. And as this athlete steps off the ice, I realize it's Erica Lawler. And Erica Lawler was a 3-time first-team Eastern All-Prep player, 3-time national champion for the University of Wisconsin, and now world champion and a member of the U.S. Olympic team for the United States. And Erica, I saw you play as a little kid, and you blew me away. I cannot believe anybody skates that well, much less happens to be a lady. And I want to say something about our girls, our women. When I travel in business throughout the world, I've traveled with athletics, what I realize is that it's young women like Erica Lawler and like our women who are on our United States Olympic team, you are our secret weapon. You know what? We are 50 years ahead of the rest of the world on women's rights. Our women today, if you'd asked us 30 years ago, the answer would be different. Today, when you talk to a woman, a young woman in this country, and particularly a woman who's an athlete, they think, without a doubt, they're at least equal to men. Am I right about this? I am right about that. I also want to introduce you to another great athlete. Jake Herbert is a Pennsylvanian who went to Northwestern. And Jake, great athlete for our country, great athlete, NCAA All-American, 2-time national champion, won the Dan Hodge Trophy as the best collegiate athlete in the sport of wrestling last year, which really says a lot. But let me tell you what says more. Collegiate wrestling has a completely different style of competition than what we experience at the world level. Very different style. It usually takes our best athletes like Jake 3 to 4 years before you catch on to the difference in the rules and the difference in the approach to the sport. Well, guess what? Jake won his national title and was the outstanding wrestler in the national championship in March. He made our world team by, and I'm going to tell you, the process is extremely rigorous. He wins the national championship. He goes on and he wins the world team trials. He makes our team. He then ends up going to the world championships, and he beats the Russian in an extraordinary match and ends up in the world championship match no less than 6 months out of college, and goes on to win the silver medal for the United States. And Jake, I'll tell you what, that's unheard of, because there's only been 2 athletes that have ever, stand up, Jake, get up here now. There's only been 2 athletes in the history of our country in this sport who have gone on to a world or Olympic championship final their first year in school, out of school. One was Lee Kemp, 3-time world champion. The other was John Smith, 2-time Olympic champion. And Jake, I'll tell you what, we're going to be looking for you in London. We wish you the best. We, on the notion of some great athletes who are here tonight, I want to take the opportunity to recognize some of the great women athletes who have participated and contributed and won and set the bar for this great team that we have going into the Vancouver Games. First, and if you would please stand, Shelley Looney. Shelley is not only an Olympian, she's a 2-time Olympian. She is an Olympic gold and silver medalist, and she's women's director of hockey for the New Jersey Colonials. Shelley, thank you for being here. Sue Mers. Where are you, Sue? She is also an Olympic gold and silver medalist, and she is a territory manager for iFlow Corporation, so there is life after hockey, Mom and Dad. Alana Belaski. She is a USA Hockey gold medalist. And she is the personal instructor and teacher at Chelsea Piers in New York City. Who's ever been to Chelsea Piers? That's a pretty cool place, isn't it? I do not know how they make that business work. Bob, I just want to say that Mike Eruzione, who was the captain of the 1980 Olympic hockey team, thinks that you're a great sport and that we should just shut this down. Congratulations, Bob. Yes. It's at this time I'd like to introduce one of the foundation cornerstones of the New Jersey Rockets organization, a great friend, a wonderful human being with a huge heart, extraordinary heart for others, particularly kids. Ladies and gentlemen, Peggy Del Maro.
Thank you, John. I can't believe you're asking me to speak after Mike Eruzione. What an act to follow. But it is my absolute pleasure to be here this evening, because really what brought my partner and I to this whole program was really working for kids, working for athletes. And I truly wish that all of the athletes in the entire Atlantic League area, the Colonials, the Rockets, and all of our partners could be here to hear the inspirational speech that you gave this evening. But it's with great pleasure that I introduce my partner, Debbie Vanderbeek, who's a co-owner of the New Jersey Rockets and of the New Jersey Devils, and sharing this evening.
Don't leave me.
I wouldn't.
No, it really is a great honor for both Peggy and I to be here. We've worked very hard, and we've worked together on this whole thing. From the time we started the Rockets about 10 years ago, we started with 5 teams, all boys. You know, girls at that time were just a real blip on the radar screen. You know, no one knew anything about girls hockey in New Jersey. Over the next 5 years, we ended up getting about 11 youth teams. We've got 2 junior teams now. We really are very proud of how we've grown the organization, but probably one of the most gratifying programs that we've added is the girls program. And we started that just about 3 or 4 years ago.
One team.
We didn't even have a team, really. It
Right.
was one of our coaches who was a true Blue Rocket. He coached our boys' teams. He took those teams to nationals. He took them to Silver Sticks. He was just a gung-ho coach. Kind of looks like a thug, Mark does. He's big. He's scary. He's very scary. But when he took over the girls program, the girls love him. And he is awesome with them. And he came to us and he said, I have a group of girls that need a place to play. And, would you and Peggy consider, having a girls program? And we were like, you think you can get enough? Like, we didn't even know any girls that played hockey. And he said, I'm going to get a team together. And we now have, 3 years later, we have 3 teams. They're very, competitive. He put these girls out in the Midwest Elite League. He's sent girls to Division I colleges, to Division III colleges. He's really helped us make a terrific program. And, with the advancement of our own women's league in New Jersey, which Donna Grigula is, responsible for, it's been terrific how the girls have come on. And we're very proud of that we have been able to contribute. But there's, we're amongst a lot of great people who have put in a lot of time and energy. And we thank you very much. It's an honor to be here amongst these
Thank
girls.
you. Not so.
You guys may not leave if you'll just stay for a moment. If I'd like to ask Dave Ogren, Executive Director of USA Hockey, to come up, and with a special opportunity to recognize these wonderful women for what they've done for the youth of this area.
I want to say thank you to Debbie and to Peggy, to a lot of people, really, to Rich Bender from USA Wrestling, a lot of the wrestling volunteers, John, to you. Thanks for this kind of groundbreaking ecumenical opportunity tonight. I hope it's something that we can replicate again in some other places, but a special thank you tonight to our co-chairs, to Peggy Del Moro.
Thank you very much, Dave.
And to Debbie Vanderbeek. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I can tell you about 9 o'clock this morning in Colorado Springs, I had 2 choices. On the one hand, I had Lou Lamoriello, Steve Yzerman, Luke Robitaille, Brett Hull, and Brian Leach. On the other hand, I had Julie Chu, Erica Lawler, Gigi Marvin, Caitlin Cahow, Kerry Weiland, Sherry Looney, Sue Mers, Atlanta Blahoski, and Mike Eruzione. So it was pretty easy for me to decide where to come tonight. I know Jeff is in Montreal for the Hockey Hall of Fame ceremony. I'm very happy that I'm here. I want to thank USA Wrestling. I want to thank all of you for coming. And the one thing I want to do, because Mike's done such a wonderful job as we've taken a look back tonight at the greatest moment in the history of hockey in America. First of all, I don't want you to forget, this is the 50th anniversary in February of the first gold medal team, 1960 in Squaw Valley. Coached by Jack Riley, who's still with us, living down in Sandwich, I think. Isn't he, Mike, on the Cape? 1960 was our first gold medal. 1980 was our second. And Shelley and Sue and Alana represent 1998, which was our third. The other young women you saw tonight, Julie and Caitlin and Erica and Gigi and Kerry, represent hopefully our fourth. Now, the other thing very quickly I want to do is, if you are with the Rockets, the Colonial, or the Bears as a player, would you stand up, please? Please stand up. There is likely an Olympian standing in this room in the future. It may be 2014, it may be 2018, but it is very likely that there is an Olympian in this room. You've heard a lot about aspirations tonight. I want to thank Diane Carr. She was about to turn the steaks into an order for breakfast. I'm going to be very brief, but thank you all so much for coming. And Debbie and Peggy, thanks so much for helping get this together tonight. John, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Peggy? Peggy? You going to tee up the video?
You should all know that Dave's commitment to this great sport does not come lightly, nor does it come in short time frames. It's at this time I'd like to introduce one of the foundation cornerstones of the New Jersey Rockets organization, a great friend, a wonderful human being with a huge heart, extraordinary heart for others, particularly kids. Ladies and gentlemen, Peggy Delmaro.
Thank you, John. I can't believe you're asking me to speak after Mike Eruzione. What an act to follow. But it is my absolute pleasure to be here this evening, because really what brought my partner and I to this whole program was really working for kids, working for athletes. And I truly wish that all of the athletes in the entire Atlantic League area, the Colonials, the Rockets, and all of our partners could be here to hear the inspirational speech that you gave this evening. But it's with great pleasure that I introduce my partner, Debbie Vanderbeek, who's a co-owner of the New Jersey Rockets and of the New Jersey Devils, and sharing this evening.
Don't leave me.
I wouldn't.
No, it really is a great honor for both Peggy and I to be here. We've worked very hard, and we've worked together on this whole thing. From the time we started the Rockets about 10 years ago, we started with 5 teams, all boys. You know, girls at that time were just a real blip on the radar screen. You know, no one knew anything about girls hockey in New Jersey. You know, over the next 5 years, we ended up getting about 11 youth teams. We've got 2 junior teams now. We really are very proud of how we've grown the organization, but probably one of the most gratifying programs that we've added is the girls program. And we started that just about 3 or 4 years ago.
With one team.
We didn't even have a team, really. It
Right.
was one of our coaches who was a true blue Rocket. He coached our boys' teams. He took those teams to nationals. He took them to Silver Sticks. He was just a gung-ho coach. Kind of looks like a thug, Mark does. He's big, he's scary, he's very scary. But when he took over the girls program, the girls love him, and he is awesome with them. And he came to us and he said, I have a group of girls that need a place to play. And, you know, would you and Peggy consider, you know, having a girls program? And we were like, you think you can get enough? Like, we didn't even know any girls that played hockey. And he said, I'm going to get a team together. And we now have, like 3 years later, we have 3 teams. They're very, you know, competitive. He put these girls out in the Midwest Elite League. He's sent girls to Division I colleges, to Division III colleges. He's really helped us make a terrific program. And, you know, with the advancement of our own women's league in New Jersey, which Donna Grigula is, you know, responsible for, it's been terrific how the girls have come on, and we're very proud of that we have been able to contribute. But there's, you know, we're amongst a lot of great people who have put in a lot of time and energy, and we thank you very much. It's an honor to be here amongst these girls.
Not so.
You guys may not leave if you'll just stay for a moment. If I'd like to ask Dave Ogren, Executive Director of USA Hockey, to come up, and with a special opportunity to recognize these wonderful women for what they've done for the youth of this area.
I want to say thank you to Debbie and to Peggy, to a lot of people, really, to Rich Bender from USA Wrestling, a lot of the wrestling volunteers, John, to you. thanks for this kind of groundbreaking ecumenical opportunity tonight. I hope it's something that we can replicate again in some other places, but a special thank you tonight to our co-chairs, to Peggy Del Moro.
Thank you very much, Dave.
And to Debbie Vanderbeek. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
I can tell you about 9 o'clock this morning in Colorado Springs, I had two choices. On the one hand, I had Lou Lamorello, Steve Yzerman, Luke Robitaille, Brett Hull, and Brian Leach. On the other hand, I had Julie Chu, Erica Lawler, Gigi Marvin, Caitlin Cahow, Kerry Weiland, Sherry Looney, Sue Mers, Atlanta Blahoski, and Mike Eruzione. So it was pretty easy for me to decide where to come tonight. I know Jeff is in Montreal for the Hockey Hall of Fame ceremony. I'm very happy that I'm here. I want to thank USA Wrestling. I want to thank all of you for coming. And the one thing I want to do, because Mike's done such a wonderful job as we've taken a look back tonight at the greatest moment in the history of hockey in America. First of all, I don't want you to forget, this is the 50th anniversary in February of the first gold medal team, 1960 in Squaw Valley, coached by Jack Riley, who's still with us, living down in Sandwich, I think, isn't he, Mike, on the Cape? 1960 was our first gold medal, 1980 was our second, and Shelley and Sue and Alana represent 1998, which was our third. The other young women you saw tonight, Julie and Caitlin and Erica and Gigi and Kerry, represent hopefully our fourth. Now, the other thing very quickly I want to do is, if you are with the Rockets, the Colonial, or the Bears as a player, would you stand up, please? Please stand up. There is likely an Olympian standing in this room in the future. It may be 2014, it may be 2018, but it is very likely that there is an Olympian in this room. You've heard a lot about aspirations tonight. I want to thank Diane Carr. She was about to turn the steaks into an order for breakfast. I'm going to be very brief, but thank you all so much for coming. And Debbie and Peggy, thanks so much for helping get this together tonight. John, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Peggy? Peggy? You going to tee up the video?
You should all know that Dave's commitment to this great sport does not come lightly, nor does it come in short time frames. I'd like to introduce our special guest of honor from the women's team here tonight. And I will tell you this, there are people here tonight who will go home and tell their kids about it, and there are kids who are here tonight who someday will tell their children that they were here and they met and were with the greatest women's hockey team in the world. And with us representing this great team, by the way, ranked #1 in the world for the first time in the history of hockey, our American girls have won the last 2 world titles. Do you know how hard that is in Canada? So I'm going to ask all the girls to come up here now, but I want to introduce you. We have Caitlin Cahow. She is an Olympic bronze medalist in 2006, 3-time member of the U.S. women's national team for the International Ice Hockey Federation Women's World Championship, and a gold medalist in 2008 and 2009, and a silver medalist in 2007. She graduated from Harvard in 2008 with a bachelor's degree in social and biological anthropology. Congratulations to you. Julie Chu, USA Hockey 2-time Olympian, silver in 2002 and bronze in 2006. 6-time member of the U.S. women's national team for the International Ice Hockey Federation. World Team Championship gold World Team Championship gold in 2005, 2008, and 2009 with a silver in 2001, 2004, and 2007. Are you looking at a committed and outstanding and performance-based athlete? You bet you are. What a human being. Young men and women, tell your kids about tonight. Erica Lawler, three-time member of the U.S. Women's National Team for the International Ice Hockey Federation World's Women's Championship. Gold in 2008, 2009, silver in 2007. And one hell of a mullet in ice hockey skating with the boys. Will graduate from in 2009 from the University of Wisconsin, and she is a three-time NCAA champion. Gigi Marvin. Gigi is a three-time member of the U.S. Women's National Team for the International Ice Hockey Federation World Women's Championship. Gold in 2008, 2009, silver in 2007. Will graduate from the University of Minnesota in 2009 with a bachelor's degree in communication with a minor in broadcast journalism. Gigi, thank you. Carrie Weiland, four-time member of the U.S. Women's National Team from the International Ice Hockey Federation Women's World Championship. Gold in 2008 and 2009, silver in 2004, 2007. Graduated from the University of Wisconsin in 2003 with a bachelor's degree in legal studies and sociology. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our best hope for gold in Vancouver, the leadership of the women's ice hockey team for the United States. Get on your feet and give them some love. So, you know, as we end tonight, we're going to get a chance to spend a little extra time with these extraordinary athletes. Jake Herbert, this extraordinary group of world champions who we hope and pray will become Olympic champions, but we thank you for your leadership no matter what. You have already done what no group of women has ever done, no group of men has ever done in the period of time that you've competed in our sport. And I want to thank you for your dedication, your excellence in scholarship, the leadership, and most importantly, the example that you have set for our kids and the future of our country. You are the United States of America, and we thank you. So for those of you who've had dessert and for those of you who have not, we will be here and then we'll be moving out to the lounge area. The ladies will be available, and I want to encourage, because I know a lot of the young people have not had a chance, they're going to be needing to be going to bed and to school tomorrow, so let's make sure the young people get a chance to come first and get those autographs and photographs, and the folks with the cameras will be here, so let's do that now. Thank you for a wonderful night. Peggy and Ron, the Vanderbeek family, we thank you so much for making this possible. And oh, excuse me, there's one more thing.
Yeah, John, a wise man once told me if I get a chance to speak, be sincere, be brief, and be seated. So I'll do that. But, John, as a small token of our appreciation on behalf of USA Wrestling and USA Hockey, wanted to say thanks for emceeing tonight and being our master of ceremonies. So, John, ladies and gentlemen, this is a guy that gets it. And, John, thanks for all you do for our sport and the Olympic movement.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, kids, come on up. We're the kids. Come on up here and get some photos taken, you young people.